it's a benefit to employees to have that. How do we share that benefit equally and fairly? And that's the idea we came up with. Can I pull off a little bit? Do anybody have questions about that? Comments?
I just had, after the bolded sentence, the actual cost of specialized services provided by the district shall be assessed on each student served by the specialized program. Is there a date on that, or is it just, how does that assessment happen?
Oh, if a student were, they would be identified.
Okay.
Yeah. That takes place when you enroll a child into the school.
Okay, and then under the guidelines, is this something where we should be looking at if a preschool is established in our preschool guidelines? Because we've got people who teacher ratios for the other grades, or is that something we wait to see if the warrant article is passed?
I mean, 20 to 1 is the max anyway.
Okay. So don't need to.
No, yeah, I think it would be, again, a lot of moving parts that.
Got it.
So that existing sentence in there, Justin's that whatever the cost, additional costs beyond what's provided in the school, it's assessed on each individual student. So it's paid for by the individual student, not by the district.
Got it. And are there due dates for those quarterly payments? And
Yeah.
Does it matter when they're late?
Yeah, there's a.
Got it. Okay. That's fine.
Enrollment deposit of $1,000,
Okay.
September quarterly. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's good. I like it.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is we talked about having now another policy about maximum school size. So that will supersede this too, or should we put something in here for that?
I think that automatically supersedes it. Okay. Yes, I mean,
You go right.
No, that's what it says.
There's language in the contract that says every effort would be at least year after year, but no, there was no guarantee. So if you get to the third or fourth grade and our population explodes, the priority would always go to the chest. I think you have to vote on it. The reading, right?
Can I ask a question first?
sure.
My question, I appreciate the big change. I think it does, I understand your reasoning. One of the things as a parent that I've noticed this year is the high turnover in our part-time staff and the effect that that has on our students and their ability to continue on in their education in each of those different areas of specials. And to have such a high rate of turnover in so many areas of specials, and specialty teachers, like art is not one of them in turnover this year, but Spanish, helping library, and gym. So I guess I wonder if there's a greater benefit to the educational environment if there's an opportunity to retain teachers or to incentivize teachers to stay and become a bigger part of the community. And so is that value to our educational influence higher than $2,500? Like, is it worth it to just offer them the same benefit as a full-time teacher? Because there's an added benefit of continuity where it's really hard to retain these very part-time teachers, which is a very unusual situation, I think, that we have as a school to be hiring teachers for 1 day a week and then expecting them to stay on year after year. So I pose it as a question. I understand your reasoning. I guess I wanted to offer a different sort of line of questioning around figuring that out.
It's a good point.
The great point is that this way that they've redone it addresses that, actually reduces that rate for those part-time. So it is now more of a perk for them. It's good food for thought, and that would be something probably at community level, because we're really looking at how we spend our money or tax my money.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's money.
I think from the business perspective, I remember I spent years in HR, and it was my understanding that it costs you double the annual salary to rehire that position. And I think that's pretty well true across the board. So it's actually
right here in this reading.
costs us a lot more than $2,500 when we have to hire a new teacher to fill that position.
rather than change it right here in this meeting, I wouldn't mind bumping it back to committee to discuss it again. There's other factors in here that we kind of have to take into place, and that's really the fairness to the full-time employee.
Yeah.
But I don't think that,
I think at this point, I think she's got a great one, but what I would add to that is that this problem is not just a Jackson problem. It's not just a Washington Valley problem. It's a New Hampshire problem. And New Hampshire has a very big problem with this. And you do everything you can to mitigate the problem. And there's only so much that mitigation actually does to actually mitigate the problem. I think this is a step in the direction because of that idea. Even if we went to zero tuition for the first child, is it really going to mitigate that problem? I don't know. But I would want to talk about that outside of this forum with administration to know what is the most fair thing to do to full-time employees.
Yeah.
Before I was able to say right here off the cuff, yeah, it's just reduce that down to zero. In theory, I like it. I think it's a great idea. But before we hastily jump into that, I could go into committee outside this forum discussion before we can recommend to the board full solution.
maybe 1/5 teachers free and.
Well, just see if it's even.
But let's bump it down to committee.
It needs to go back to committee. I mean, has it even ever been a reason somebody's left? You know, like that type of thing.
No, but
in general, I'd say when it comes to something like this at all, no matter what the discussion is, to change something that drastically from what the committee is recommending, you should bounce it back down to the committee to take a look at it so that it does get pulled out of this forum and gets a little bit less the emotional decision based.
I actually thought it was you were right, to be honest. I didn't know we were charging part-time employees. So when I saw it on there, I thought we were now charging them more until I saw them start.
So from a process standpoint, now's a good time to say that. We want the committee to look at this again with that.
Maybe a little 1/5.
So we would like the committee to look at it again, that amount.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah. With the student enrollment we have this year, you said there were how many students in the school?
50.
And how many of those are non-residents and teachers? So we have 48 students, residents, and 2 non-residents. I just like to ask the community, the school board, to please publish that, so that we know how many residents we have.
But you know what, the one thing on that is you don't want to single them up because you want them to feel welcome in the school. And we look at them, they are part of our
I'm
community.
just saying, it's a difference of enrollment, and you're just talking about 64 students as opposed, and I know you said you're going to the steps, but, sometimes I think you keep saying more knowledge is better, and yet you're saying to me that as a citizen...
Sarah, I get what you're saying. I think there's a fair compromise here. So when we publish a number of enrollment, we should just publish what the Jackson residents are. And leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because our policy for accepting any tuition student, whether employees or just general tuition, is based on the notion that it doesn't add to the budget anyway. But I think for clarity and transparency as far as how many students we actually have as this town actually obligated to be educating, I think it would be helpful to kind of just publish a number of what is the Jackson resident population of the K through 6.
The number you see in your book is just Jackson.
Right, that was what that was happening. So.
But I also think that a lot of people are unaware that the school has a policy where if you're a teacher, that your first student can come to 0 and then...
I'm not doubting that, but we've always been extremely transparent on it, particularly when we adopted the policy to begin with. So it's always been there.
There was like 3 years of discussion on it.
It was brought up at the November 15th board meeting.
So we talk about it regularly.
Right, but I still say that I don't believe that it's that people know this. When I mentioned it, they were very surprised.
Well, they don't come to meeting. I mean, we discussed it for years. I was on the policy committee and we discussed it for years, like we've been discussing preschool to even do it. And so people who don't come to the meeting and don't read the notices and don't pay attention to it, yeah, they would be surprised. I get it, yeah. But it's not like we're hiding anything. It's all been public. It's been years out in the books and public and listening formats and all that stuff. So.
And that's why I always bring it back to the fact that when we established it, it was very clear that it's not adding to the budget. So it isn't something that needs to be brought up to the forefront every discussion that we have. I mean,
it's a benefit to us as well. I mean, you want your staff to be part of this community. You know, you don't want them to get in their car at 3:15 and drive away. You know, you want them to be part of the community. If there's a staff that's been kids in the school, you recognize them more like they're almost like a resident to us. You know, they're.
So we'll bounce it back on the committee. The Article 29 question. This is something else. I mean, this one we could approve. Again, it has nothing to do with whether you actually adopt ECE or not. If you do, this is a policy in place. As we're adding to it the reduction in force policy in the event that ECE is established, the position of ECE will be considered separately.
That's excellent.
Well, all the positions, we just didn't say that position.
No, this one, because they're separate.
Well, I know, but what if it was like maybe two?
Well, what I was going to suggest is you add an S to the end of position, and after ECC, add the word staff. That will clarify that.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Somehow just make sure that it's, you know that everyone's making more than one.
Otherwise, I'm fine with it.
All those in favor as amended? Purchasing, this one's kind of more of a clarification. Kevin explained it better than I do.
Yeah, so the policy was in place, and I think that it came up at the last board meeting that really this is a good policy. So just the explanation, it kind of went out of sync, and just a reaffirmation of if there's something over $10,000 and there's no competitive bid processing, the board just needs to be aware of that. You know, in today's day, there are construction going crazy here, and you put something up to bid, but you may not get any competitive bidding, so then you may only have one. So if it's a $10,000 or more job, then the board should just be aware, you know, we did everything the best effort to reach out, recruit, and these are the folks who came back. So it's just, again, a reaffirmation of there is a process, and now making sure that we follow that process.
So 99 or less would be at Dale's discretion.
Yeah.
Approved, yeah, but were you talking about that last line down there? Mm-hmm. I'd like to see added there that provided it's in line with the budget and the line item. Like, we can't, like that one was.
You do get that. You get that. I mean, your budget is, you have repairs to facilities or equipment.
The way I read this is any purchases, unless this is not made in the open market, it should be basically better pricing whenever possible.
Sure.
So they don't need board approval, so shouldn't there be a line in there that says, provided this is, you know, in the budget of the line item, or something like that?
Yeah, but any transfer, you folks would have to approve anyway, or you could get the FYI related to it. You just don't want to have.
So it's already somewhere else, it says you can't roll the budget on the line item without board approval?
No, well, over $5,000. You have to prove it. Let's say, I mean, you don't want to get in the business of a $400 transfer. They would never be able to do business. They would never be able to do business that way. Things happen.
So you're talking about everything, okay. I'm talking about you guys that come out of the blue. Oh, let's forget that.
We've never had an
Yeah.
issue before.
No, I know we've never had an
Yeah.
issue.
So you do get FYIs on budget transfers, anyway, one of those one line, one line.
So we didn't always need to change anything in the current policy.
Yeah.
It just needed to refresh ourselves on what it actually is.
So you prove that
As is, yeah.
We need to vote on that.
Is it a motion?
I think we make a motion second. Everybody in favor?
Yep.
Okay. for return.
Second.
Motion, Kate, second. Any discussion, questions?
Is there a pool going?
We have advertised for a long-term sub. In fact, I think we're recommending one shortly, so we should have that all set. We should go soon.
All those in favor?
Congratulations.
Any questions on the budget, comments? Reports? Superintendent?
Just real briefly, there is the SAU 9 board meeting on Thursday, the 8th of November at 6. And again, just to follow up on the conversation before, we will be asking for representation from the different boards to talk about tuition contracts and cooperative school guidance. And that's all I got.
And at our last executive board meeting, they put together kind of the first look at a business plan and some salary schedules. So if you want to look at it, there's a set up.
Sorry, Jerry.
So at the last executive board, this will be presented in the November meeting, right?
It will be. Yes.
Which seemed probably more important than the cooperative meeting was the discussion about salary schedules for the SAU.
Oh, got it, okay.
Becky Jackson's position, we have to begin advertising for that, so figuring out the salary range, that's scheduled. So there's some comparative data that was presented to the executive board. They made the recommendation, which will go to the full board in November.
Got it. And that's November 8th at 6.
Correct.
So that'll probably be where the biggest discussion about it. So there's our November. Can I go?
Well, in the spirit of tuition and enrollment conversations, I have received and would like to recommend that we approve a tuition student, a non-resident tuition student. Their space, it meets the criteria that we've outlined. Families filled out an application form, so I would like, out of the process is that you folks approve the admission of a non-resident student. So I would like to request that you do that this evening.
I entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
With discussion, if we are going to have any kind of further discussion about whether it needs to forever, we probably should go in non-public. So that's
I'm good with Gail.
Yeah, no, I have some generic questions, but those aren't going to. And so you said 50 is our number we have now, so we go into 51?
Yes.
And can we ask the grade?
It meets the class size requirements that we've outlined in the policy, which you just looked at. Right? So that was good. Yes.
Next.
And that's full tuition?
It'd be prorated.
Because we do $10,000 plus, they wouldn't start until November, so.
But
that's about
we count the number of days and build up.
And they will have no guarantee next year?
Yes, it's all in the contract, that will be on our road now.
What is
Just like with the teacher's contract, it details how it works for the maintenance of
we have to wait. This board hasn't confronted one.
We have one, but he was here already left
Right.
when you and I were on it.
And we didn't have enough tuition kind of fees, we had to deny tuition.
No, he was paying more than that.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Not our tuition.
Yeah, like we've had a chance to like have the student be part of things and they're a good fit. That student's a good fit.
We believe so, yes.
All those in favor? There are some comments coming up pretty quickly, so. So, yeah.
Fall Festival. Thank you for reminding me. Fall Festival is the 26th, and as usual, it'll start around 1 o'clock. If you feel so moved to come carve some pumpkins and meet with some young people as they move through the Fall Festival, we welcome you to join us.
Thanks, Joe.
Awesome, thanks, Lou.
That brings us back to citizen comments. Throw first of all, you got a question about last one.
So, where tuition is a student in, and 10,000 is what the student will cost, the tuition for the student?
That's what the parent guardian will pay, prorate. That would be for 180 days, but because they aren't here for 180 days, it would be.
Right, I understand that, but with, that's the figure that the board came up with. It cost me a lot more to send a resident student to school. I guess I just don't understand how.
I'll give you an example. I have a vacation.
Before we go down that hole, so when we developed the tuition policy, these are the discussions that we had, and we had these. So it's very common that you don't know this, but this isn't the kind of thing that we would really kind of respond to on the citizen comments when we're first confronted with it, I guess.
Right, so that's just a question
Right.
putting out there that I didn't know that. I'm learning how many meetings and reading these. And my other comment was with the preschool and the number of students we have in the multimedia room that you're anticipating putting them in, correct? Is that what it's called, in the library or whatever? I have concerns because if we have students who have individual educational programs and say we have 2 or 3 students who have a bad day and they're not in the classroom, isn't that what this room is used for? I mean, you're not taking away space from the K through 6. That room is used more than just for one.
But I think that's
And that's something that can be answered further down the road, but I think that's, you know, I do feel that room is used for more than just, you know, part-time.
But that's a fair comment, sir. And that's, but to clarify, it's not necessarily the preschool that's going to be utilizing that space, but
In class.
but I think that it does have to be considered that what we're talking about is adding preschool to the existing building. So yes, however we do that, we would be taking space away from something. So that's,
Well, it's a concern because we want to take care of what is mandated by law as opposed to the generosity of the taxpayer. And then also, these meetings that are in Conway, is it inappropriate to ask how many people on our board are able to attend? Because it sounds to me like you're going through a lot in the immediate future about a possibility of co-op information and tuition information. So is it a feedback process, or do you all members, which I appreciate your time and effort you put in for the years, but
I'll state on me, I don't make it to many of those. They're always on Thursdays, and unfortunately for me, I cannot make Thursday nights. I've been in some in the past years, but in the last 3 or 4 years, I haven't made anything to go with you on Thursdays.
do you feel that you get the information?
I feel like the information's there if I need to get it.
Okay. Thank you.
yeah, generally we tend to have at least one representative there. I think it's been a long time since we haven't had at least that. There was a meeting that happened in September where we didn't get a representative too. And it's not necessarily that's not a problem for Jackson as much as it is kind of disrespectful to the SAU process and the chair and administration. And because representation there is really for the last 20 years, it's been moving in a very healthy kind of coordinated effort. And it doesn't really matter what town you're from necessarily. The SAU 9 board really works more as an SAU 9 board as it does what towns get representation. And the conversations have always been really good. And that's why it was really kind of disrespectful for us not to have somebody participating there. But as far as us getting information back from that is fully transparent. It's always available. And it's a simple phone call. It's amazing how you have a question about the budget, where things are. You call up Jen Bill, you call up Jefferson. You call them up or you email them, expecting they'll maybe sometime in the next few days they'll get back to me. The information comes back sometimes within seconds. It's pretty impressive given what they have on their plate.
You know who go to that board meetings, like there's been times when I've got information from Scott Grant, not necessarily from my own board members, only because I saw him first. So there's ways to get that.
But whether we send one member or all five of us, it's still the same representation that we get on the SAU board. So it's not like we have to have 4 members there to get 4 members represented. So
Right, no, I was just concerned that you got the information about everything.
And then we get the minutes emailed to us every time, and from the mail too, I think, right? I get the email, I think, from the mail.
And under citizen comments, and I hope it gets back, and will, if you read the minutes, is you've got big shoes to fill back in William.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
we know.
Joyce?
You talked about preschool deciding in spring, or you know by a certain number of time we've had too few students for preschool, or too much school population to accommodate it. What happens to the teaching? When do you sign to teaching? When does contract have to be signed so, in other words, when you sign to say you're not going to have preschool, where's that leaving a preschool teacher?
Well, I mean, that's fairness in employment can be discussed indefinitely, but unfortunately that comes into play to reduction in force. So even if the contract was signed, it would still be subject to the program existing. So it's
So we end up paying a teacher's salary if you decide to not do
you would end up paying a teacher's salary.
That's the way these contracts are written.
it is.
If it's a reduction of force and you're not being fired, you just.
So let's say it gets passed in March and we want to hire that position, start hiring that position right away for it, thinking that we have it. That person wouldn't actually get hired probably until June, I would think. Is when it would probably happen. And then if for some reason after June we decided not to have a program, we got scrapped, they would be subject to a reduction in force and wouldn't get hired.
That was why we changed one of our policies earlier today to make sure that, because the way reduction in force goes is to whoever is the newest is the first one out. So we wanted to make sure that that was separate.
But it's a very valid question, and that's why we go through this process of developing a policy, so we can answer the question. That's how it will be done. Any other questions, comments?
Reference to the high school league, what are we going to do with that high school league?
Under court issues. We're still on phase of that. Could we want to make that a citizen comment? We can.
Go to the other side of the table. Go to the other side of the table.
So, I'd like to first say that there are not one, but 2 alpine ski areas in our town. We're welcome as Wildcat shares the Jackson address. They get their mail at the Jackson post office. I would also like to say that I think tradition of going to Black Mountain is what has kept us there with a bad experience for at least the last 6 or 7 years. And I'd also like to point out that if we're looking towards tradition, traditionally, Jackson started with all the other schools in the valley at Cranmore. Cranmore is willing to welcome us back. The next move for Jackson ESSC was to Attitash. Attitash is willing to welcome us back. It is only our 3rd round that we have been to Black. And I know we've been there for a long time, and I wish that it was everything that we all want it to be in our community, but it's not. And I'm not the only one that has noticed that. And I'd like to have it be time that someone step forward and say, this is the action that we're going to take, and it's action within the next 6 weeks before the snow flies, and we have to be stuck at a place that's not safe, not a quality experience, and not really serving our kids on the snow.
Does the recent coach want to add anything? You don't have to.
No, I've spoken to ESSC about this. One of you spoke on Jackson Rep for ESSC. ESSC won't move the programme from Black.
That's not what I've been told by the president of the ESSC and by the chair of the board of the junior program.
So,
what they have said is that it needs to come from the Jackson community.
To be fair to the process here, I think that you've asked the board to look into this, and I think we should at this point, because you're asking it, that's a fair point. I really do look at this as an issue for ESSC and the Jackson School to resolve and decide. Because of what you said, I've heard parents in past years say the exact same thing. And that's why communication has to happen through the proper channels and the proper process. And I think that's a discussion that has happened between the SSE program and the Jackson School. So I think that's the starting point, is to have that happen. You know, some of these things have already started to happen because it isn't new information. So I think that we just need to kind of follow up on it and see where it goes. But I think that there does need to be some clarification between what you said about other mountains being optional and what ESSC's actual position is. So I think that, you know, if that's something that you'll be able to kind of figure out, what is the actual information there so that we can see that to know what it actually is. So that it's not just coming from parents in the community and get a definite answer as to what are our options for ESSC.
And at the same time, if I could just, are you on the PTO or involved with PTO?
I am.
Maybe through the PTO, put a survey out and get a survey together, and not just this year's school year, but 5 years back. And maybe you'll come and get some great information that you can come to the board with on the biggest complaints that people talk about. Maybe some of that would be rectified.
That would be a comparison, but what we have here, the ESSC is a school program. It's a program that the school is under the school umbrella that's put by another. I mean, the ESSC itself is kind of.
Well, to rectify what the problems were, not to move them, not go to a survey who wants to move. Do a survey on what have been the issues, and here are the issues we have there, and can we do anything to make these issues go away? Not so much as.
Which is a good idea for an exercise for the PTO. I think it's just for the board to be taking kind of any kind of.
Yeah,
I think the discussion goes back to ESSC needs to clarify with the school what's going on with that so that we can get the answers from what's being said as to what's actually real. So,
and that might help that answer if the PTO has these studies and
in the essence of time, because you don't meet again until November or something, and the program is going to be solidified, is there a way that we could, if need be, we have open communication through an email, through us, if there's anything that the school board needs to do to facilitate anything? Because we only have 6 weeks, we only have one more meeting for the whole program, if there is anything that we may need to do.
And in line with what Jen's saying, I guess what I would want to know is who is responsible for the conversation? Who are they talking to? And what is our timeline? When do we need to have the information so the decisions can be made? And who actually makes those decisions? Because we've never had to make a decision about the SSC before. So how do we clarify that?
We might not need to. The only thing what is it that we need to spend money for busing or something like that. But what I really would like to do is just have the difference between the ESSC has a position that what it is, and then there's another understanding in the community about what that position is. I think that those parties need to kind of get together outside of this forum, really, to figure out what the actual answer to that is, because it doesn't, well, it shouldn't matter too much to the board at this point what that answer is, but it is important between Neil and parents in the community as to what is the actual answer to that question.
Okay.
And so I think that.
Well, I appreciate all that, and I guess part of what I'm looking for is really what Joe said, but can you, as a board, help us as a community understand who is responsible to make the final decision, and what is the timeline to make that decision? Because I think at the end of the day, we're entrusting you as a school board to oversee where our kids go during the school day, and that includes ESSC. And I'm asking you to really look into and question, do you feel comfortable signing off on, yes, this is the safest place for our kids to go skiing? When you look at the mid-station and the bent poles everywhere, if that's the only lift running for our 7-year-olds to go on, and you know the mid-station is not safe, are each of you okay with saying, yes, that's where our kids are going to go? Or knowing the feedback we've already heard from the community, are you okay with saying, yes, I'm still signing off on this is the place that we go, this is the quality experience that I can sign off on?
That's not what the board does, so I understand the confusion there, but that's, it seems confusing to, that's not a decision that we make as a board. It's the ESSC program is offered to the school, and the school participates in it, and we're being offered the program that we're being offered. So I would think that the school wouldn't really have anything to respond to until ESSC has something different to offer the school.
But I think we could, that's a little bit pushing back on that a little bit. I mean, if Tin Mountain, if Tin Mountain is saying we offer a program, and you say, well, actually our curriculum is going this way, could you work with us in this area? Like, that's a communication problem.
Yeah, that's not something that the school board would be involved in.
I understand.
It's safety aside, no matter where our kids go, they go on field trips, we can't go and inspect it before they go there. We just have first-hand knowledge of the area because we live here. But safety aside, I would really like to see all options explored to fix what's wrong with the experience.
Yeah.
You know, if it wasn't one issue, that's, as a parent too, that's what I'm saying. Try to fix what's wrong before you even enter that.
So, would it be, I'm just trying to help, not with my school board hat on, but would it be, like, who do we, I don't even know, is it the president of ESSC, what the protocol is to talk to ESSC
Not
and
Bob
say,
Tag anymore. Who is it now?
It's Craig, not.
Craig, that's it. Craig now.
so, you know, who would go to talk to him and say, what do we need to do to change that? Do you have any experience in any other schools or, I don't even know who to
No, ESSC has been an institution
Yeah.
that's been long in place, but, you know, I guess it would go back to the ESSC in jail and have those conversations. Be much like taking a class trip someplace that's Ferry Beach has been this historical piece that you've done, and they make the determination that that is an appropriate place between both sides. But now I'll defer to you that, you know, I think that it is part of, because I'm unfamiliar with these pieces.
Sure.
And I'm probably certain that if it were that unsafe, I don't know that they would still need this. I don't know.
One more thing to remember too, how long did they get to ski? 12, 15, time to get
They're there 12, 15, and we sign them out 2:45.
So you go anywhere else, you're gonna lose minimum of 30 minutes of ski time too. Or 30 minutes of classroom time, which the teachers probably wouldn't like.
Or you're going to lose the whole day if you just keep going black because they have to cancel because their lifts aren't running. And what are you going to say when somebody does get hurt? What are you going to say when somebody does go off the side of the trail because the grooming isn't good and the conditions aren't good and they do stick us up there anyway?
So I think a question would be, like, at this point is, somebody get out, maybe want to take the rein and with some help out, I mean, whatever, and call ESSC, what is the process for?
Could I ask that a board member join Neil and I and have that, because I know Neil and I have both spoken to the ESSC, and Yetta and I have spoken as well.
What do they say?
The mountain is inspected and insured like any other mountain in the valley. They wanted to put it back on us as a board to make the decision, rather than become embroiled in a community kind of brouhaha about where they're going to ski. As I said to Yetta, I've been here 11 years. Our kids have had a good experience there overall. We've had very
Some of them work better than others.
Right, yeah, and like any other mountain, they have had a lift problem. They have had them in Sunday River, they've had them in Sugarloaf, they've had them everywhere. So,
Are you going to tell me then, Gail, that you don't know that a group of parents gathered 5 years ago with the intention of moving
I was
to a
part of
different
that
home?
group. I sat at the church with Jerry, and so I do.
So when you told me today that I am the only parent that has come to you in your whole time at ESSC with a complaint, was that true?
Yes, because that came through with from people.
But I think to be fair here, I mean, this is a football that's getting tossed around a bit, and I think that some of that's happening because there is some confusion on what the process is, and I think one of your points is probably the best one. ESSC is really, it isn't any different than like a field trip or an experience with Tin Mountain. And it is, ESSC offers a program for the school, and school can either choose to participate in that program or not. And if they do, then you would expect that there would be some back and forth as to what that programming looks like. And so what drives that conversation is really kind of what we're coming down to. What drives the conversation? Why are we going to have a conversation about what the programming is if there's nothing wrong? Well, how do we know there's something wrong about it? How many people are complaining about it versus aren't complaining about it kind of becomes the issue. So one of the key ideas about having a survey is not a bad place to start with. Let's get an idea of what is the student and parent experience. Are there people out there that are angry about it that aren't saying anything, or are most people content? What drives the discussion? What drives the change? I think is really kind of what needs to be boiled down here. But back and forth as to what kind of exactly details are. Again, this is a hard form to have that, and it's not really the right one, I don't think. The discussion really needs to be about ESSC is a program offered to the school. School opt to participate in it. Right now, what's being offered is the Black Mountain experience through ESSC. If it's even a possibility for that to change, then we need clarifying communication between ESSC and school, because the school is saying that there isn't anything else being offered. But Neil said that there wasn't, the ESSC wasn't offering anything different. If that's the case, and I think the conversation needs to happen somewhere else other than here. It's just not a great place to have this kind of conversation. It's not something that the board usually gets involved in kind of for the students, because the back and forth exchange, this isn't a place for that kind of back and forth exchange. It might come to the board as far as we need to make a decision to do something else, or we need to make a decision to appropriate money for it, appropriate money for busing and things like that. That's one that would be a board issue. Until that happens, it's just not a good place to have this conversation.
I just haven't been able to find a place to have the conversation. I've asked everybody. I really have. I've asked almost each of you at the table. I've asked the SSC, and no one's able to say this is the place to have the conversation. So I had to ask. So thank you for the time.
So what if we were to do this? It sounds like there are two things here. One is to get clarifying information, because right now we have information that's not clear. So if in the next week or so we could clarify that information, and then on the other hand, if we were to reach out to our current families and see what really is happening, because you're saying that, let's hear that. So if we try to put a timeline on that about the next week or two so that we can make some decisions, maybe we can get those two pieces together, bring them to Gail, who's at the moment the ultimate arbiter of this, and if it can't be resolved, then you can bring it back to us. Would that make sense?
But I have no sense about a survey, because I know my school population at this point, there are many families who are not skiers at all, who never go with their families, who wouldn't know a good program from a bad program, from a good mountain, from a bad. They're not going to respond, and they're not going to have anything to say. So my concern is we'll hear from, a group of families who really knows Alpine and wants their kids to be on the race team and all, whatever the thing is with that. However, I don't feel like a survey would represent what's best for all the kiddos in that building.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, I would want meeting a survey of what can we do to make your Friday snow experience better. But not necessarily, do we want to go to Appalachian, do we want to go to Wildcat, do we want this or that, but what can we do to make it better? What's wrong with it? And then let's go from there.
Gail, did I hear you ask for help in driving the conversation forward? Because the two of you are meeting a dead end and you're asking for help.
Right. Because I think Neil and I have both been clear that we feel like we've got a good program that happens up there that's good for kids.
It's different for everyone.
And why do you need to go to another mountain isn't clear to us. At least I'm not putting words in your mouth, but would you agree, Neil, that we feel like the program there is safe and good for kids?
Absolutely, yeah, I would.
So that's kind of
that's what was made earlier, which was that there was unclear information. So what you're saying is, as the head of our ESSC program and the head of our school, you think that we are fine, that we are offering a good program, you think ESSC is doing the right thing, and you would recommend that we just stick with that. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would.
Okay, so there is a confusion. I mean, because what you said before was that you had looked into, there might have been a possibility of us changing, but they said there was no alternative, which to me made it seem like you would be interested in changing as well.
No, I never want to change it. No, I just keep it's community.
I was the one that wanted to change it originally, and I changed my mind.
Black Mountain should be our mountain. It's part of, if we left Black Mountain, that would be a real, it would be right.
So can I just add to this for a second here before we move on? And so I have to say that, like, my family has been physically and verbally abused by the owner of Black Mountain and is now no longer allowed to go to Black Mountain. And I came to Gail and Neil with this problem that now my 7-year-old isn't allowed to go there. And so of our 51 students, you have one that can't go. And what are you going to do about it? Because I'm not going to tell her that every other first or sixth grader gets to go to Black Mountain except for her. And his behavior has been justified again and again and again. His abuse is repeated and repeated and repeated, and nobody is doing anything
again, I sympathize with you, and I'm sorry that it's got this level, but I have to caution the board under the circumstance. And this is why I said this isn't the right forum for this. We have public comments on our agenda, and the public is free to say what it wants to under public comments. It is free to say what it wants to at our public meetings. We, as a board, are not allowed to. We're not, the law does not allow us to say something to respond to what we said. It simply doesn't. We can be held criminally liable if we do respond. And I apologize for that because I understand it's an emotional issue. But we, as a board, I'm just cautious, we cannot respond to what she said. We can be held criminally liable if we do. We're not allowed to, we're just not allowed to. And I apologize for that, but we can't respond.
Okay, just to have a clarification on one thing. Earlier in the conversation, Gail, did you say that the ESSC, you had spoken to them and they said it was up to the school? Did I catch, is that what you had said at one point?
They suggested it was a school board decision.
Okay. So that was just one thing that brought my attention, that it is up to us. It sounds like.
I think what they're meaning is we don't have to go to Black Mountain, but if we don't go to Black Mountain, the ESSC are going to send us to our house. So we have to create our own project outside of the ESSC.
Now, another point that I wanted to make, respectfully disagree with you, Gail, is when you said that you don't think there'd be any validity in a survey. And I agree that there's certainly certain people who don't care one way or the other and won't respond. And there's certain people, and myself included, who, for the same reasons, would rather go pretty much anywhere else. But you will also get the people from the community who want to stay at Black Mountain either because they disagree with me or because they have nostalgia for it or they have a stronger sense of community for it. Because, I'll admit I've only been here for 2 seasons so far. So I'm not bound by nostalgia. I'm more thinking of the skiing experience. And I have the same safety considerations for things that I can't legally talk about. I have seen, if anyone knows what I do for work, I have seen the results of some safety issues at Black Mountain. So I have reservations about sending my kids.
Chris, I apologize again. So we can't control what gets said out there, but this is a legal meeting for us, and it's either crossing the line of what we can allow to be stated here and not. And unfortunately, again, this is why this isn't the right forum for this. It isn't not for this conversation. I'm not saying that a decision might not get brought before the board for us to do, but our process doesn't allow for this type of decision to come to us in this format. It needs to be started somewhere else. What we can do is we can direct them to look into this, to start a process. I don't know that we're really ready to do that tonight based on the information we have. We can't really receive information in this way, in this format. It's not how it's supposed to happen, and the law actually doesn't allow it to happen that way. And again, I know it can be confusing and hard to understand some of these things, but again, it's a program that's offered to the school. We participate in it. If we want changes to it, that shouldn't happen here like this. The survey is a good place to start with something like that, to bring information in. What that can look like, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure we're ready to do something like that tonight from a board directive anyway. I think.
What if we did this, Gail? I heard you ask before for one more board members to help me with Gail. Sorts of information out. I'm happy to help you guys. So maybe we could start there, get together, get some clarification, and to see what the next step would be.
I think in a subcommittee format like that is a good place to do that. Is that?
And we'll try to do it in a timely fashion.
I don't think it's going to be crossing the line to Gail. If Gail could just confirm with me, are all of our students welcome at Black Mountain for our ski program?
Yeah.
No, that's
So are our students welcome at Black Mountain? I don't know why.
Well, average.
I'm not asking to come yet, well, I mean, that's something I think the board
I
has.
think an ad hoc committee
Yeah.
with Jess, Gail, and Ian, in conjunction with whoever else, ESSC members, is a perfect idea. And then present your findings back to the full board.
And just for everyone's clarification, RSA 91A3, subcategory 4, I think, is what dictates why we can't say anything. We are not allowed to discuss anything that can affect the reputation of a business or a person outside of us. A public figure, our reputations don't matter. We're not allowed to discuss anyone else's reputation or entity's reputation in public ourselves. If someone in our audience says something, we can't control that. That is allowed by the law, but we can't, and that's the reasoning for it. And we can be held criminally liable for that, and that's why we can't respond to some of these things and ask some of these questions. Because, again, like I said, it's not the right format for us to have this. Some of these things, if we were to respond to, we'd have to do it in non-public for those reasons. And that's a different format for that. So that's why we can't respond to these things. I do apologize for it, but I think that a good starting place is to have the ad hoc committee get together and hash through some of those conversations, and maybe one of you could be involved in a conversation with the SSC to kind of get clarification on it and verification for the validity of Gail's part too for that.
So we'll try to get some clarifications. Are you interested in getting information from current parents and or in a survey format as well, or is that something we're going to wait on?
I think you guys can defer.
Scott, I just want to know what we're doing. Okay.
And thank you everyone really for. Just.
It's late. However, if you want to respond to me at another time, another format, that's fine. I know I'm not going to be here in March for the school vacations, and I'd like to know if there's a way that she was trying to vote by asking how, and is there a format?
There's not.
There's nothing.
But whether it's school district or towns in New Hampshire, it's, unless it's SB2, or not an SB2 town, voting happens by the legislative body that is present at that meeting. That's how the voting works. That's the only way that it can work. Any other comments? Board member issues. So the issue of the Kennel liaison or guidance on how students and parents navigate transitioning from 6th grade into middle school into high school, it's something that we've always talked about. It's always kind of been there. I think we should put it under old business to kind of have it on our radar. And maybe the next meeting, in between this meeting and the next meeting, we can kind of come up with maybe start some sort of format for a process that we can go through to, just whether it just be, this is, the link online that you go through for, or whatever the information is that we seem to be dropping the ball on. I don't mean we as a board, I mean the school community. And whatever issues come up, whether it's specifically high school or specifically to middle school, it's something that it's always kind of comes up. And it's not every meeting, but it's at a lot of them anyway. So maybe we should put it under old business, and so at the next meeting under old business, kind of hash out whatever issues are.
This came up last year, right before you introduced the ELO position. Remember, we were talking about this.
We don't have this position.
I will say it's more relevant to my life now that I have a child that has left the grammar school. And while I myself don't have difficulty talking to board members or the superintendent, I do know that it is difficult and intimidating for fake parents to ferret out information and to go call. I mean, even I don't want to necessarily call Kevin on everything. I probably feels like I do, but I do not. So I just want to get on board here that I would like to have a concrete discussion about this, because I think things are falling through the cracks. There's communication issues, and it is very challenging for parents. And even just dealing with the sports situation, I think there are good intentions, there's good efforts, and they are being addressed at different times. But we have parents that don't have, or caregivers that don't have that resource, and it would be nice to know. I mean, I've been on the board almost 4 years, and Vicki Garland, I think, is a phenomenal person. She's reached out to me as a parent to support my child. I still don't know what she does for Fort Jackson students. So even if we just got her and say, this is what we have to offer, you know, whatever it is.
I think she should come to either the next meeting or the one after and a job description of what she does.
Yeah, and like, when is it
Goes
appropriate?
out there and have her do, you know, a good portion of one of our meetings as to what resource she has. I don't know if this is the right form or how listening post with it or whatever it
I
is.
think that's a good idea.
And she's done this before, and basically what she does is she keeps an eye on grades, she keeps an eye on discipline, and she's there for
I think she could do it, yeah, better, and her
But you don't have to
discuss it.
find
And
it.
then maybe, and after that, if we as a board, because we have discussed this over, we went over it for like a couple of months, we were gonna look into hiring somebody to do whatever BCG.
So I think it's a good starting point, and once we get a better idea of where we're seeing the gaps and how we want to fill those gaps in.
Because she's not the middle school person.
Right.
We don't pay her for that.
Right.
We pay her for high school.
Right, and so that's my point, is that is there anyone is just sort of keeping an eye on the whole, and I know parents, it's supposed to be parents and caregivers doing this, but we're not succeeding necessarily. So if there's a way to address that, just to know for continuity, consistency, things like that, because I can tell you, the communication in middle school and then in high school, and you know, parents say, they're like, well, that's it, you gotta grow up sometime and go do that. I don't know if that's necessarily the way we have to look at that. So I would want to, I'd like to have a discussion about that, starting with what does Vicki do? Because the other thing is we don't want to give out Vicki's name and then everybody goes to her for everything. You know what I mean? I'm sure she wouldn't mind because she's very dedicated, but, you know.
She'll be paid for 5 days in the summer.
I mean, especially as we're going more towards competency-based education.
She told me to say this. This is really interesting. I think we've done such a great job with transitioning our children. When the kids go to, I guess, Berry Beach, I think all the 6th grade parents should have a great time to get together, frequently ask questions. This is what you're looking at.
There you go.
With the 7th and 8th grade parents.
Sounds good.
No.
Because they have the answers.
Well, whoever you want to invite to be a panel of experts in transitioning your child,
Yeah.
that would be definitely
Yeah, a lot of that's already.
Gail was great, she did a.
And Vicki's
license
there.
Yeah, for incoming kids into the Jackson School, there should be, it would be nice to have a buddy system. And it happens naturally. I
You
get a
should
call from somebody who's coming in and saying, oh my God, I have some questions for
And
you.
that's why I think we should put it on for this annual, to keep that conversation going. This is what we do. Next meeting, November 19th, 6 p.m. You've got,
They can wait.
you can bring them.
We're not close. I won't be here.
You can discuss that over beers. Start that. November 19th, 2018, 6 p.m. This building.
That's a normal one then.
Yeah, maybe not.
Great. The non-public, and then motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you, everyone.